Let's go and look at why my ground station crashed Sunday. First time it's ever crashed during a flight, ever. That computer has crashed before, but not during a flight. I had an old 386 notebook I used for the quads and hexes. It lasted for 7 years. Never did crash during the flight. It crashed otherwise, but Mission Planner's not very hardware intensive. If it's the only thing running, you in Fat City, you probably not going to crash. It's just really, really unlikely. Now then, when you add on top of it capturing the screen, you're adding a secondary process, and actually that's what happened with my old 386. That extra overhead just didn't work well. So last birthday, year and about a month ago, Pam brought me that brand new i7 computer. It's just killer. It never crashed anywhere except Sunday either yet. And this was what I would do. Now I'm going to have to switch over to my cell phone so I can show you how multicam capture works, because I'm using it right now to capture. That's how I do videos. So here's multicam capture. I think I use the 1.0 version of this on the other notebook. I've been using this with Corel Video Studio for about 15 years, since version 1 of Corel Video Studio. So it's exactly the same Mission Planner program, and well, it's not exactly the same multi-capture, but it is still multi-capture in a different version. And this is what I did when I got a hexa, quad, whatever ready to go. I don't use my ground station to do anything, really. It's there to collect telemetry and call out flight statistics every 30 seconds. That is it. I have never used it for guided flight. I've never used it for anything. I've never built a mission in the field. That's all it does. Matter of fact, when I first get there, I set up the notebook, then I hook the platform by USB to the notebook really quick. That gives me a USB voltage source rather than hooking up the flight battery and starting it draining. I just go with that and let my GPS start locking up. Secondary function, telemetry collection. Tertiary function would be calling out altitude and speed and such every 30 seconds. And the fourth function would be to record all that in case the platform flies off. Then I'll have telemetry in the Mission Planner because it recorded it during the flight. The thing flies off, it's still there all the way until it disconnects from Mission Planner. I've got everything. I can find out what went on. Maybe I can even find out where it's located. Telemetry is wonderful. So this is the way I would do it in the old days. I would pull this up. I would connect to my platform. I've got one there, so we can just do that for kicks and grins. It won't matter for this, but there's a platform connected. Who cares? So then I would start, then I would start multicam capture. Come right here and click start. That was it. During the flight, I also came up here and, well, before the flight, I would come up here and turn on speech for 30 seconds intervals. I actually have waypoint mode, 30-second intervals, battery warning. I don't do altitude or low speed warning right now, but arm and disarm. It calls these things out on the speaker. So it just sits there and collects telemetry from just before the flight starts until after the flight and calls out these values. Nothing else. It's not used for anything else, even to this day. So with this running like this and the multicam capturing it, you can go back to it and see that it's building time, 54 seconds so far. This was all I did. I put GoPro cameras and Mobius cameras on my platforms to capture video while they were flying and then looked at it after the fact. I never put a video transmitter. Well, I did. I even got cameras on the ones sitting up there, but I never actually flew them like that. That was just to finish them up, and I was getting ready to do that portion of it. That was the last thing to do with them. I got to having too much fun with them, and anyway. So this is all that happens. This is recording this. It's also recording the telemetry out of the platform to a file on that ground station. If the platform doesn't run off forever, it's not needed. It's like a backup. It's something you do constantly, hoping that you will never need it. Fire insurance, you pay it. You hope you never need it. Automobile insurance, you pay it. You hope you never need it. But when you do, it's wonderful to have it. Before that, it's paying out money for nothing. So this is all I ever did with the quads. And if this is all I do with the airplanes, it would forever be fine and not crash. But you see, although the Nano Talon doesn't have an OSD, all the rest of my airplanes do. Well, some of them don't. They don't even have a flight controller in them. They're just straight line of sight planes. So when the OSD came along, I'm just going to terminate this recording. And I'm going to go in here and actually delete this. I don't need it. So when the airplanes came along with OSDs in them, there was a secondary thing I did. When I came in here to start this, I had a secondary source, the USB camera from the SkyZone video receiver. It won't give good data right now. I don't have a video transmitter on. Now I click go. It's actually recording this screen, ground station, and everything that happens on it. So I have that for later. I like to look at data after the flight. That's one of my most fun things to do, is analyze it. NASA does it. Airlines do it. Electronics people do it. That's just what we do. So you can see this isn't causing any problem whatsoever, is it? I'm going to terminate the capture. And you'll see now this time I have two files. I have the screen recorded right here, and then I have that video source recorded right here. And that works perfectly. No runs, no hits, no errors, ever. But with the Nano Talon, seeing it doesn't have a, let me make sure, multicam capture. Yes, let's make it, leave that alone for a second. Within Mission Planner for a platform that has no OSD, it's S-Bus. When I bought it from MRO, they sent a PPM encoder with it and said, if you want really a futuristic flight, set it up S-Bus. I didn't even know about crossfire telemetry for another year and a half. So I set it up S-Bus. You get nothing. You don't get battery voltage from the platform that way, so I can't even get battery voltage in my radio. Now, on the Nano Talon, it does have a video transmitter. And technically with Mission Planner, you can come into the config right here, set this value for whichever thing you want to use, and click Start. Now what that has done, this is going to look terrible. That has put that source, video source, behind this HUD display right here in the upper left. I can click on it and swap with the map. That would be my video transmitter in the platform. I can use this for an FPV monitor. Because the Nano Talon doesn't have an OSD, I can come in here and say, enable the Mission Planner OSD and overlay that video input with the OSD from Mission Planner and fly. I could fly like this with an FPV monitor, just this one, which is what I was doing Sunday, setting up to test for the first time ever. I can fly with this. I can fly a real airplane. If I get in an FPV monitor or whatever, in any shape, form, or fashion, I know I can fly the daylights out of it. It's not going to be in any problem at all. I'll show you loops, chandelle turns, hammerhead turns, whip stalls, all that stuff. Bittler and I used to go out and take out a Citabra aerobatic airplane and do some aerobatic maneuvers you would not believe because he was in competition. So you see right now, if I go in and click start on this, we'll just click start on this, boom. Now I am capturing Mission Planner with multicam capture with the USB camera, which is the SkyDroid video receiver, piped in behind this OSD screen with this OSD overlay on it, and I've basically got a FPV monitor I can fly with. I'll turn on the platform juice real quick. So you can see here, this is what I saw on the ground station Sunday. This would be what I would see for a airplane with an OSD in it. I wouldn't use this OSD overlay while I was flying. I would turn that off right here. And I could still use this as an FPV monitor for flying. I'm going to turn that back off over there. Where the problem came in is this. I wanted to record both of those sources, and it don't work. With this setup, with the USB camera being used right here, if you go into multicam capture, and I didn't know this till Sunday, I had a suspicion, yeah, okay, I'm going to shut this off for just a second. Stop. And you'll see all I got that time was a single capture, and you can see I have my flight video behind that screen. It's not a problem. Now then, if you come in here with this USB running and in multicam capture, you try to grab that camera, you can't. And if you click start, it doesn't really work. You can see out here, it hasn't blown anything up. It's still working. It's just you can't share that resource. So if I come back in here, multicam capture, shut down that record, you see, even though I clicked the button to see that camera and record it, it didn't. It was already in use by another program. Didn't blow up my workstation, did it? Now watch this. If Mission Planner, I'll click stop right here, and that stops the usage of that USB port behind this. Oh, you piece of junk. Let's click stop again. Why did you start back up? There we go. Maybe it won't start up again. The problem is, now, on a platform with an OSD, real quick, I'm going to run it this way.
I'm not going to put that video behind any of this. I'm just going to run it this way and let it call it out every 30 seconds. I don't need that because I can come in here with multicam capture and without it being in use by another program, you can see now multicam capture says, okay, I got that one. I'll just go ahead and start recording both of those sources. Now that's a source of a video out of a platform with OSD. So when I come back after the fact, I've got both sources, but they're perfectly synced with each other. So I can put them side by side. And besides latency, I can kind of see what happened at almost the exact second it happened. The problem came with the Nano Talon not having an OSD in it. So what I wanted to do was have multicam capture recording that video transmitter and the screen. And then I wanted to come over here in Mission Planner and use that USB camera again by clicking start right here. Boom, camera fail. Insufficient resources exist to complete the requested service. Now that's not right. Truthfully, that device is already in use, but it doesn't matter. It blew up, and watch when I click OK here. Oops. I'm going to terminate this instead of clicking close program, but it doesn't matter. You see, the Mission Planner fails. Now on this computer, one time when I did this here, it also locked up so badly it needed to be rebooted, just like it did at the at the field Sunday. So that's all that happened. It seemed to be set up right. I clicked start and everything, which I've done 100 times before. So I started the flight. I came back to find the computer crashed. I started it up again. I went back in and tried to do the same thing again and found that error. So I had to come back and quit recording the video transmitter with the multicam capture and go back to this and just record the screen, and it will work perfectly that way. Oops, darn it. Still a little sick. Yep, we're not capturing it. Turn this off. Oops. I don't want these extra files. Turn this off right here. Now we're only capturing the screen, and we can come in here. We can use the USB camera out here any way we want to. We can come back in here and enable a HUD overlay on an airplane that doesn't have an OSD and have a pseudo OSD and fly from this FPV monitor. I'm sure I can fly perfectly from this FPV monitor. By the way, the focusing hood worked perfectly Sunday. I could see the computer with no problem whatsoever, so that's put to bed. The only problem was working out this little bug with the ground station. When the ground station crashed and I came back after I put it in return to launch so the airspeed sensor could calibrate, which was the purpose of the flight, and it did. I'll show that later in telemetry. When it started circling return to home above me, I looked back at the computer because I wanted to see this screen. I wanted to get ready to do a little FPV in the monitor flying for my first time. When I looked, the computer was crashed. I had to reboot it. It was so crashed. And this machine did lock up to the point where it had to be rebooted one time tonight. This time through with that hiccup, it didn't. 6.5 dozen of the other. The computer came back up. Here's where I get in trouble on the last video I show you. When I connect, it takes 39 seconds to connect that I have to wait on before I even see the battery voltage. That's not quite true. Actually, it starts showing you things while it's reading in parameters. You don't have to wait. If the parameters come in, they start displaying before the complete parameter list is read in. But basically, if I only tried to connect once and then stopped multicam capture from trying to capture the video transmitter, put the video transmitter in my screen like this, and then told multicam capture to just capture the screen, it worked perfectly. It didn't crash after that. And let's just say there was one waiting for connection. That's an extra 30 seconds. That would have been more than enough time. That thing would not have crashed. I used this ground station for 7 years with the quads and the hexes. Technically, you can come in here if you want to. I never did. And say, fly to right here, fly to here. Oh, please connect first. Okay. I don't have any power on that airplane, so it don't matter. Oops, fly to here at 700 feet. FA will be right on my ass, and that's what the platform will do. Also here, you can change the fly to here altitude. Oops, I'm not supposed to go above 400. It's not quite there yet, so I'll reset that for 300. Now it's going to 300 instead. There's all sorts of stuff. Point the camera on the platform here, trigger camera, flight planner, all this stuff that you can do. I never did any of that. I have no need for that. If I want to have an autonomous flight, that's just, you go into the planner, you come over here and say, I want to fly from here, take off, and I want to go, oops, plan. I want to fly to here, here, over to here, I want to go over here, and then I want to do a return to launch. I built all of those in Mission Planner before I went to the field. They were already in the platforms when I got there. I have never put a mission into a platform in the field. I have never developed a mission in the field. I don't want to. It's just there to collect telemetry and call out flight perimeters every 30 seconds. That's all it's there for. And again, if your plane comes back, your rover, whatever, boat comes back, you can take the telemetry out of it. It's only the cases where it doesn't. And there's other reasons you might want to use your ground station. I just haven't developed many reasons yet. Now that I've been through all this and know exactly what's going on and why, I will never crash the ground station again by trying to use the USB video receiver in 2 applications. It won't happen. Okay, we'll go on to the next problem with that flight. All understandable because I do have the telemetry. All right, thank you. Let's proceed.